There's no corner table in this beautifully designed space inside Keefers. We'll visit with Glenn Keefer for the backstory.
It's great to go to a new restaurant that really offers what the customers want, and it's a creative restaurant. It's friends of mine. I'm here today with my old friend Glenn Keefer at Keefer's Restaurant. And tell me a little bit about how you decided to build this place, because it's sort of an interesting story. A kid that was working on a fishing boat now owns a restaurant.
Well, I came to Chicago with the Palm Restaurant in 1980 and started there as a bartender. Worked as a manager with the Palm for about 12 years. Joined Ruth Chris in 92, opened the Chicago restaurant as a general manager. And
so you know a little bit about steak?
We have a lot of steak background, which is why we decided to focus on steak. In 1994 or so, we went over one night to have dinner at Kiki's Bistro with my then six-year-old daughter, who ordered a great big pile of pommes frites from John Hogan. I didn't know John at the time, but we tried to get a little ketchup for my daughter and was told by the server that they didn't carry ketchup. So I sent a note back to the kitchen and said, come on, I'm in the business, can you help me get some ketchup for my daughter? That's the only way she'll eat the fries. I get a note back from John, sorry, no ketchup. I sent another note back, what do you recommend for a 6-year-old? He sends a note back and says, expensive red Bordeaux. So I said, I gotta meet this guy. Who is this guy? What does he drink? He drinks Heineken. So I go in the kitchen with a Heineken. Who's John Hogan? He says, that'd be me. And that's where I met him. And I thought that if I ever had the opportunity, this great chance, thanks to our partners, Jimmy DeCastro and Larry Wirt, my brother Rich, to open a restaurant of our own, I would do what we know best, which is steak. And we were lucky enough to get John, who could do virtually anything.
Well, John can virtually do anything. And we not only have ketchup here at this restaurant, but we have chocolate milk too. You have some comfortable items on the menu, and these are really here. I didn't put them out there. You have, we'll talk about the main menu, but and what's on the table. I mean, you have a casual menu here too.
We have a bistro menu, which was John's idea to refer to it as that and not bar food, because it's not a pejorative kind of a heading. It's something that a regular guest might want to come in and have an item from in lieu of a $50, entree.
And the items on there are basically burgers, little small steaks. Okay.
We run the seafood pot pie, which is a great item with shrimp and lobster. Various seafood items in a saffron broth with a puffed pastry top. Very good.
Okay. Let's talk about my favorite steak, just about all Chicago. Talk about this in the sauce.
Delmonico or ribeye. It's also known as a beauty steak. We serve it with a choice of sauces. Personally, I don't think it needs any. The beauty of a ribeye steak is it has a lot of marbling, and that's where the flavor comes from. We don't use the F word, we don't say fat.
Okay.
I think the word marbling has been thrown around a little too much.
F.
But we try and give the guest a choice. From the loin end, right next to where the New York strips come from, they're very lean, and they can be firmer in nature.
When they
from
get
the
up
other
front.
end, up by the shoulder, from the chuck end, they have a lot more marbling, and they eat sweeter and a little more tender. I think it's the best tasting steak.
This is a fine dining restaurant, and we're going to go watch Hogan make a Dover sole, which you serve tableside.
As a departure from what I think is a pretty casual environment, we do the Dover sole tableside. I think it's just an indication of we're low-key and casual, but it is a fine dining restaurant where we have 5 great fish items in addition to 5 great steaks, and John usually puts up at least 2 or 3 specials every day.
That's great. Let's talk about that special you had the other night.
Roast loin of lamb?
Yeah. No.
It was excellent. John roasted the loin of lamb to temperature, served it over a compote of tomato and mushrooms with chickpea fries and natural juice. We sold 30 orders of them.
What's really great about what a chef like John Hogan can do, and I want to say, I don't know if I'm going to get shot here, but the food here is very comfortable. It's not overdone. The restaurant is not pretentious. This is the only restaurant, as I said, no one gets stuck in the corner. It's because there's not a corner in the house. But you have some of Hogan's neat little items on here too.
Hogan's peas.
Hogan's peas, which are what?
Pearl onions with a fennel leek cream sauce and pearl onions and bacon.
He can make specials here that are just the best in the world, or
Even the simple food that he makes, like his cream spinach, it has a quality to it because it has some fennel cream in it as well that really gives it some depth and some great flavor.
What about the asparagus?
Asparagus rolled in prosciutto, served with a fontina fondue or cheese sauce. We try to stay away from a lot of the fancy names. We changed the frisee to curly greens. We changed the foie gras to Hudson Valley duck liver. We don't want to be pretentious, but we like to be great food.
Good for you. Crab cake, a la Hogan. Tell me about that.
Crab cake, there's no filler in it. There's just a little bit of panko breadcrumb on the top and the bottom, but the center is all jumbo lump crab meat.
That's great.
Served with tartar sauce and fennel slaw.
Well, we're going to run in the kitchen right now. We're going to watch John do a Dover sole, and we'll be right back.
How you doing? I'm John Hogan, Chef Keefers Restaurant. Today we're going to make one of our, I think, staple fish dishes, which is a sautéed Dover sole with brown butter. Okay? You start, important to get the pan nice and hot. The way you form a nice crust on the pan, on the fish. We're starting with a little olive oil that we've gotten to a point of smoking, so it's very hot. Add just a little bit of fresh butter, which will help to brown the fish. Pan's hot. Always pull the pan away, the fat away from you when you add the fish to the pan. Otherwise, you end up splashing and getting little burns there. Okay, for the sauce, while the fish is cooking, we're going to start the sauce. And it consists of some whole butter. You're going to cook this until it's a brown butter with the French called beurre noisette, hazelnut butter, and it'll smell like nuts toasting. The best way for you to tell, like live right here, is when it stops crackling and making the noise. That's when it's ready. So it tells you by two senses, your smell and your sound. You listen. Boom. Stops crackling, it's ready. Perfect brown butter. Lemon. A little bit of salt. Be careful if you're using salted butter at home. You want to alleviate the salt at this particular point. And then we put just a little bit of veal demi-glace in here. What that does is kind of give the sauce a little bit of body. Okay? And then we finish it with a nice little bunch of fresh chopped parsley. We're going to put this on the side. Just let that sauce kind of relax a little bit there. And we send this out on a large plate with the sauce on the side. And then the waiters take care of this at the table. Okay?
You mentioned your partner, Jimmy DeCastro, and Larry Work. They're in the media business, which I guess is how the designs came up for the room.
Well, some of the radios and microphones come from Jimmy's collection. Jimmy and I have been friends for 21 years. He's the first guy I met in Chicago when I worked at the Palm. He'd come over from the Hancock building. He was with the Loop. And Larry worked with Jimmy once upon a time. So we all became friends, and it's really a lot of fun working.
And that sort of goes together. A lot of media people are here at your bar. It's an action spot. It's like the buzz place in town.
We do get a good bar crowd, and it's kind of high energy and lots of fun.
Yeah, I think it's got to go. Actually, they do something that's really neat here. You ever sit in a restaurant and they walk up to you and you've now had 2 pieces of bread, you can't eat, you can't drink because you're really thirsty, and they go, "Would you like water, sir?" "Yes." And they go, "Would you like bottled or tap?" And you don't want to feel like a chump, so you get the tap, you get the bottled one. Okay, here they have chilled filtered water. They take these every day. They put them in their walk-in, and they have they had, as I understand, 288 of these bottles.
When we started.
And now you're down to...
We're lighter than that.
Okay. Hey, before we go, let's talk about your desserts a little bit.
This is the triple chocolate with a flourless chocolate cake.
I'm ready. I'm waiting.
With John's homemade chocolate ice cream topped with chocolate syrup. Excellent. Need a shot of insulin when you're done. This is a poached pear with caramel sauce and almonds over the top of a puff pastry.
Hey, Glenn Keefer, Keefers Steakhouse, congratulations. I really like the place.
Thank
Clearly a 3-star restaurant. Give them your phone number and your address and when you're open.
We're at 20 West Kinsey on the corner of Kinsey and Dearborn. Our phone number is 312-467-9525. We're open for lunch and dinner Monday through Friday from 11:30 a.m. until 10:30 p.m. On Saturdays, we're open for dinner only from 4:30 p.m. until 11:30 p.m. and we're closed most Sundays.
And they've got French fries and chocolate milk. Hey, thanks, Brett.
Thanks, David.